Welcome to the Comics Coffee Metal Podcast, episode 151.
Greetings and welcome to the Comics Coffee Metal Podcast. Today I am joined by the amazing artist Joe Eisma. Joe, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Joe, you've worked on so many awesome books and projects, of course, Morning Glories and Archie and Star Trek, and you got this really cool new young adult series coming out from Maverick and Mad Cave with Lila Sturgis called Student Government. It looks really cool. Can't wait to talk to you all about that. But rule of the show, Comics Coffee Metal, what are you digging right now?
I'm a huge coffee fan. Obviously, I love coffee. It kind of goes back to, I can trace it back to my youth. My parents, they used to drink the instant coffee crystals or whatever.
Senka or whatever.
Yeah, that's nasty, but it smelled good. So I was kind of hooked back then. And I kind of grew to love it and started drinking it as a teenager and kind of slowly developed my tastes. And in college, just like a street over from my apartment was this great, kind of bohemian style coffee shop. And I would go there and do open mic acoustic nights there and just hang out all the other times drinking coffee. And fondest memories. I would have class at 9 or 10 in the morning, but I would be there the night before and till they closed. And at the last call, because almost like a bar, they would let us, me and my friends, they would just let us have whatever coffee was left. They would just get us a big
nice
styrofoam cup, and we could just pour whatever coffee was left that hadn't been sold or whatever. And I didn't go to bed till 3, 4 or whatever, and still got up for class. I don't know how I did it, but
youth. That's how we did those things.
right. I can't do that now, but I have my lovely wife bought me a Ninja coffee maker thing. So I'm not as into it as I used to be. I have a French press. I used to grind my beans and do a French press, all that stuff. This Ninja coffee maker has frother, so I can make my own cappuccinos and stuff, which I love to do.
Nice.
But yeah, I usually just buy it just sounds so kind of embarrassing. I just buy the Folgers usually because and how it is. I have 2 kids. I got to get up early in the morning, get them ready for school. I got to set that. I don't have time to be fussing with my coffee. I need something reliable. And I set it the night before, and it's ready to go as I'm making lunches and breakfasts and stuff. And when I go out, if I travel, that's when I can enjoy and experiment with my coffees.
Nice. Get a little fancy.
Yeah.
I totally agree with the methodology there. I do grind our beans every morning, but the coffee thing, it's kind of our one, my wife and it's kind of our one thing that we're we want to be just a little particular about this. And I'm not even that particular. It's just I like having I have a routine, especially, in the mornings, whether it's I'm just coming home from the gym in the morning or if I'm just waking up before the kids, I wake up, hit the coffee grinder, it goes, and just do all that. But there's definitely been the days where I'm I'll try to do it beforehand, the night before, because I'm I know they won't be the best. It won't be the best as good as it could be, but I'm not going to be up early enough to do this. I'm just going to grind this the night before and set it and forget it. Occasionally I like to do the French press and stuff like that. And I don't get as fancy as the pour overs or anything.
That's what I always wanted to try was the pour over, because I've gotten pour overs when I travel and I really enjoyed them. But I'm always can I pull this off? And what if I do it at home and it's not as good as when I'm traveling? So
I kind of avoid trying to do that also because I know it kind of become a thing. I have ADHD, so I tend to get my hyperfixations of things, and I know when something's going to be trouble. That's why I don't buy vinyl. And that's why I don't go deeper into the coffee hole with the brewing methods, just because I just know it's going to become a thing, take over my life. Then I'll have like all these little gadgets and doodads, and my wife will kill me because I'm going to leave them out everywhere, and I'm going to get frustrated because I have nowhere to put them, and it's just going to be this thing.
Now, counter space is a real thing. Like, that's what I complain to my wife about all the time, because like I have cats too, so like, a couple of them, one of them is a little bit older and one of them is younger, and so I have to put the food in different places so that they don't all eat each other's food. So like, I lose counter space for that. I got my coffee maker, I got a toaster oven, and I'm like, I'm running out of counter space here.
Yeah. I mean, my kitchen's like a little galley kitchen. It's like a tiny little hallway, and so it's like every like purchase has to be like, either we need to have a place for it, or I need to make a place for it. Like we just got an air fryer earlier this year.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, well, we already have the Instant Pot, and like that's already been like constantly having to be moved around for things. Yeah. So then I finally I just put a shelf above my stove, high enough to where we won't get all weird. Because I also put in like a little vent fan thing. But it was like one of those things where like, well, I have to make space to put this thing, because I love my air fryer. It comes in so handy with things. Really? But like, nice. Like, you don't need it. You definitely don't need it. But as someone who's I kind of get into been trying to do that a lot more, like meal prepping stuff, just so it's like I don't have to think about it during the day. Not for any real reason other than that, because if I have to think about what I want for lunch, I'm either not going to eat, or I'm going to do something terrible. So, but that comes in real handy, just like to knock things out real quick, or if I'm making something that my wife and I like, and the kids just want some dino nuggets, all right, boom, there you go. Oh, nice. Yeah. But yeah, we have a regular drip coffee maker. The fanciest thing is we have a bird grinder. Oh, okay. Which is better than the blade grinders, but nice. Even then, that's far. It's far from it's like the cheapest one you could buy, I guess. Sure. But yeah. What kind of roast do you tend to like? Do you have like a specific, like, do you like light roast, dark roast, medium?
I'm more of a dark roast. Whatever? Yeah, I'm more of a dark roast type. I've tried the lighter roasts and like the blonde ones or whatever. I'm just not as into those. I just prefer those, and like to even kind of to piggyback on what you're saying about grinding, like when I had a coffee grinder, because I've gone through a couple of them. Like we have this great grocery chain down here in Texas called HEB, and like if you ask anybody in Texas about HEB, they will talk your ear off about this grocery chain. Anyway, they have a really lovely selection of coffees, and like for me, like I looked forward going to the grocery store to see what kind of beans they would have, each time. And there's this one that I really liked years ago. It was called Texas Pecan, and it was only available, in bean form. They didn't have it pre-ground or anything, so I would have to grind it myself. And I mean, it has, it had a real strong pecan or pecan, or however people say it now, flavor.
Well, I would love that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's great. But I found some again the other week, and so I bought some because they had it pre-ground. And I don't know if it's just because it was ground or whatever, but like the flavor, it just wasn't the same, or if I've just grown past it. But it had this real sort of almost saccharine flavor. Like I didn't even really sweeten it too much, but it was kind of off-putting and shocking. I was like, I don't think I can go with this one anymore. I've outgrown that one. But experimenting with the different roasts, I love that, because like they put really, it's like the best way I can describe the way they handle their coffee is because the other thing that I'm a big fan of is bourbon. And so like whenever you go to the liquor store and you see like the bourbons, they'll do like little write-ups on there and describe the flavor profiles and stuff. HEB does that with their coffees. And it's great to kind of peruse those and be like, okay, that sounds like me. That does not sound like me. And, kind of build your supply there. But,
yeah. It's, I'm lucky to live, just north of Chicago and Illinois and Wisconsin and just the surrounding area in the Midwest. There's a ton of like really great coffee roasters that are just local. So, I haven't ordered from a local place in a while. We usually get the 5-pound bag from Rootless Coffee. They're in Flint, Michigan. That's just been our go-to for years at this point. But in between shipments, we would have like a space of time where we would have to get a little bit more from somewhere else,
Yeah.
and luckily our grocery chain, we have Jewel Osco's near us,
Mhm.
but in the rest of the country is probably Albertsons, I think.
Right.
But they actually stock a lot of the more local brewers or
Wow.
roasters and stuff
Yeah.
like that, or some of the more boutique style brands. So it's like,
Yeah.
I've been trying to try some things like from there and all that. And if I could have one cup of coffee in a day, it'd be a dark roast.
Yeah.
But since I drink 2 to 3 a day, I go with a medium roast just because
Yeah.
it builds up too much
Yeah, that's fair.
for me on that. But
Let
but
me
no,
ask
yeah, I'm
you
definitely.
something. Let me
So
ask you, do you like iced coffee?
I do.
Okay.
Now I take my coffee with a little bit of half and half and some sugar.
Right.
I know a lot of people love it black. Like, I'm just not there.
Mhm.
My wife can do that.
Mhm.
I can't. That's just, I need
It's
something to
the
take a little bit of the
experience.
edge off. I
Yeah.
can drink black coffee. It's not like I'm like, oh my God, disgusting, I don't like
Yeah.
this anymore. And usually when I'm trying a new coffee, I drink it black first because I want to,
Yeah. Right.
see it. But iced coffees, definitely.
Mhm.
Here's the thing. I love I love Dunkin' Donuts iced coffee, but it's also like playing Russian roulette.
Mm.
Because if you say I want cream and sugar with my coffee to any Dunkin' Donuts, they can mean vastly different
Oh, yeah.
things. I've
Yeah.
gotten ones that were like, I'm gonna get diabetes from this, and I've gotten ones where it's like it's like, did they even put anything in here
Yeah.
at all?
Oh,
Like, the color's different, but I can't tell. Like,
right?
you know,
Yeah.
um, we don't really do Starbucks coffee.
Mhm.
I know my wife likes their iced Americanos.
Mhm.
Um, I don't like the coffee blends from there. I usually just get like the chai lattes or whatever from there. But
Mhm.
iced coffee, yeah, we typically enjoy that,
Yeah.
especially during the summer. We've been
Yeah.
doing cold brew. Last summer,
Okay.
we got this
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
plastic pitcher with the filter inside,
Yeah.
and we were doing cold brews, and that was real nice
Nice.
during the
Yeah.
summer. I
I've
recommend that if
tried
someone
with
tries it.
iced coffee, but to me, I guess like it tastes too much to me like coffee that is sat out and gone cold.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't unassociate that from my brain. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like, one of my friends, I don't know if you know Robert Wilson, the
Oh
fourth.
yeah, I know Robert.
Yeah,
Robert's great. Yeah.
Robert is hilarious. He's one of my favorite people, but he is like all into the nitro brew, coffees with cold coffees. And I'm just like, I shudder sometimes when I see him drink that. I
Yeah.
can't, I don't know what it is. Like to
Yeah.
me, coffee is a hot beverage. Like I have to drink it hot.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
even in the like, my wife doesn't drink coffee. She drinks tea, but she can't drink
Mhm.
coffee. And she'll be like, in the summer, because we're in Texas and it's like hot from April to November pretty much
Mhm.
these days.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like, how can you drink that when it's so hot? I'm like, I don't know, but I can, and that's the
Yeah,
only way I
no,
want to drink
yeah.
it.
I totally get you. Like, I like iced coffee, but
Yeah.
my coffee for the day in the morning has to be hot coffee.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
There's definitely been days where it's like, in the 90s here,
Hmm.
and iced, it's the middle of the day or whatever. I come out and I still have
Yeah.
a hot cup of coffee and I'm drinking it. It's just,
Yeah.
yeah, the iced coffee thing is more of this like, almost like it's like a side drink,
Right. Right.
like it,
Yeah.
like a soda, like I would have a soda or something. Like I would have
Yeah.
it with something, or be like, at lunch. Or what I was doing a lot was I was taking the cold brew stuff and I was just like making like little, I was just like mixing it in with some smoothies type stuff,
Hmm.
just to have something like that.
Yeah.
um but no, I totally get where you're coming from. Like, it's
Yeah.
just like, it's a hot drink.
Yeah.
Even on the hot days, it's like, no, I gotta have my
But
coffee.
yeah, it's weird because like I can't drink it cold, but I do like it used in like cold situations, like coffee ice cream. I can totally
Oh
get down with
yeah,
that.
yeah,
And
big
like my
time.
all-time favorite dessert is tiramisu, and like that's literally soaked
Yes,
in
thank you.
espresso, and it's
Thank you. I
cold.
love tiramisu so much.
Yeah, it's
It,
so
it's
good.
so good.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not someone I don't drink just out of
yeah,
choice. It's because it
sure.
was never a thing for me.
Hmm.
But So like I can't, like if someone's making tiramisu and they put like a little too much like rum in there, I think it is.
Oh,
Like
weird. Yeah.
I've gone to places where they like it's like soaked, and I'm like,
Ooh.
yeah, or they might have used like a coffee liqueur or something
Yeah,
in there
yeah,
or
yeah.
something. Yeah,
Yeah, that makes
but like
sense.
and I know this is gonna sound terrible, but like I think it's just because it's consistent, probably because it's mass manufactured. But my favorite tiramisu is from like Olive Garden,
Oh
just
yeah, they
because
do have a good one.
every time I go, I know it's exactly what's gonna taste
Right.
like.
Yeah.
I've had really good ones from other places. Oh God, what did I have? There was one. Oh, I'm trying to think of it. It was only like this. Like it was like they gave us like a sampler of like the dessert was like a sampling of other
Right.
desserts.
Yeah.
So like I tried, and it's like that was amazing. I can't remember for life of me where it was at this point, but like,
Oh, nice.
but yeah, tiramisu, yeah, coffee in stuff, coffee ice cream,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
The what was it? The Talenti brand
Okay.
coffee gelato. It's like
Yeah.
coffee Java
Yes.
chip or something gelato.
Yes.
Excellent
Yes.
stuff.
Delicious stuff. Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
weird. And like typically, like, yeah, I gotta have that nice warm cup of coffee in the morning. And
Mhm.
like I used to do a little bit of half and half and some sugar in mine, but as I've aged and now I'm
Yeah.
in my 40s, I pretty much just drink it with like a spoonful of Splenda. That's what I use now, Splenda, which
Okay.
is probably also bad for you too. But because I'm always paranoid about too much sugar, and then
No. I'm definitely I've done my fair share of this, like, basically artificial sweeteners. Like
yeah,
people say, oh, they're terrible for you or whatever. They're not
yeah,
really. They're not. I don't care for them myself in a lot of things because just the
yeah,
flavor, like just how
yeah,
some people, like if they eat cilantro, it tastes like soap.
yep,
For
yeah,
me, a lot of these artificial sweeteners,
sure.
like just I
They have
can't.
yeah, there's
It's
an
just like it overpowers
yeah,
everything else, and I just don't care for it.
yeah,
Like I'll drink diet soda all day, like the aspartame or whatever. I don't care.
yeah,
That's fine. I have no reactions to that. But like
mhm,
Splenda or
yeah.
what's the worst one? Stevia. Stevia is the worst one.
Oh God, yeah. My
And
wife,
yeah,
she used to drink
yeah,
that. She used to put that in her tea, and I had to it took me years to get her off of that. I was like, we got to
yeah.
switch.
I just I can't stand it. Like, um, I was this past year I've kind of gotten a bit more into like lifting and stuff, and so I've been like trying to
Mhm,
like watch my protein intake. So I've been like getting like some like protein powders and stuff like that,
mhm.
but they're all so damn sweet.
Yeah,
They're so overly sweetened with this stuff, and it's like I can't find like, and you can only buy this like giant jug of it, so I have to like choke it down just so I don't feel bad for spending the money on it. But
yeah,
like,
that's rough.
yeah. I mean, I wish I did, because
Yeah,
I'm definitely of the mind, and from what I've seen and the experts I've uh,
mhm.
looked at and read and trust that it's fine.
Yeah,
I've suffered no ill effects from it because I've
yeah,
stopped it for a while and then nothing. So
yeah,
like,
yeah.
but no, I get you. Like, watching the sugar. Like, I used to take a lot more sugar in my coffee.
Oh
Like, I
yeah,
used to take
same.
like 4 full like teaspoons
Mm,
or
mhm.
tablespoon. Which one's the bigger one? The bigger
Tablespoon.
spoon.
Yeah.
The tablespoons. I used to do like 4 full
Ooh.
ones in there, and like now it's down to like just like barely one in there.
Yeah,
And then and even then, like that's like the first cup. Like the second cup I usually just like,
yeah,
because you know how it sits on the bottom and stuff, so
yeah,
you just kind
yeah,
of like let it sit in there and whatever.
yeah,
But
yeah.
no, yeah, I get you. The sugar is gonna get you. But like, again, that's
Eh,
kind of like like that's kind of like my only vice with like um stuff, because I don't smoke, I don't drink, so it's like,
yeah.
let me have some fucking sugar in my coffee,
Yeah,
guys.
sure, why not? Go for it. But
that
yeah, I
that
mean,
that and my sour Mike and Ike addiction, but that's just a different story
nice.
altogether.
Yeah. I mean, it's also it's kind of weird because like I'm really the only coffee drinker in my house. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just my wife, she drinks tea. My sons are 16 and 12, and they don't drink coffee, obviously.
Yeah.
But in some ways, it's nice that I'm the only coffee drinker. But then it's also kind
Mhm.
of lonely because it's like there's something about like especially like going back to my college days, like my friends and I, we just be there sitting back drinking coffee. I love the
Yeah.
social aspect of
Yeah.
it too, just sitting around drinking coffee
Yeah.
and that's what I love about going to cons and stuff is with, fellow artists and other creators, is going to get coffee or in the mornings, with breakfast and everything. Everybody's just hanging around drinking coffee. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's a nice like little ritualistic kind of thing to kind of just like do all that. Well, your oldest is like 16, so maybe he's on the cusp of becoming that coffee drinker.
That's when I started drinking coffee, was that age.
Okay.
But I also like my kids are like so super picky anyway. Like I tease them all the time about like they don't even drink soda. Like they can't even they like
good. I mean, that's good. Like good for like it's only gonna benefit them when they're older with the teeth,
right? Exactly.
And all that,
they've heard me talk about it. Like soda was the hardest thing for me to kick. Like I drank it for years. I drank several a day, like 5 or 6 sometimes, and I was like, that was the hardest thing for me to kick was soda, and I did, and I feel so much better for it. But like I still drink like the occasional like ginger ale here and there, but my wife still drinks soda, and like if there's nothing else, I'll have a sip of her Diet Dr. Pepper or whatever, and I'm just like,
I've so soda's a big one for me. Like that was my drinks, because before I got into coffee, I was the open up a Diet Pepsi at 8 a.m. guy,
right.
And then finally, somewhere in my mid-20s, I just had coffee one more time, because I've always tried it. I'm just like, I don't care for it. Just that one particular cup, I was like, I think I like this now,
Nice.
And it's just all downhill from there. But the soda thing, like, I jump on and off of it, but regular soda, like the regular Coca-Cola, or that's like, I can't have that. That's too much.
No.
Like I drink some of those and I'm just like, whoa, like,
Yeah.
For some reason, I've always been a diet soda drinker, even when I was a little kid, because I was always stealing my grandma's diet sodas.
Yeah.
Her diet caffeine-free Diet Pepsis, which I have a bunch of them in the fridge now. Just nostalgic. But no, I understand. It's hard. It's hard to kick these things, because you don't need them.
Yeah.
You don't need them.
You just get so used to them. So.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, these things, like, they affect people in different ways, because just like you feel a lot better dropping soda, there's people who are like, man, once I stopped drinking coffee, I felt so much better. And for me, it's like, I stopped drinking coffee, I'm gonna murder somebody. And it's not just the caffeine withdrawals, it's just like,
there's something about that cup in the morning that like sets the mood for the day. Like I hate to be that cliche that is like, don't talk to me till I've had my coffee, but it's really kind of true, because like I don't like equalize until I've had that cup of coffee.
Yeah. There was a morning, was it last summer, maybe the summer before, where it was during the summer, so the kids were off, and then I was just exhausted, and I was drinking my coffee, and my daughter's like, she looks at me, she's like, "Daddy, you okay? Is your coffee not working?" like, oh man, okay, maybe I have to think about this for a little bit. Second guess my habits here, but until my doctor tells me to stop, I'm just gonna keep going. Fair. Fair. I think that's fair. I think we got, I'm happy to keep chatting about it, but I think we got coffee pretty well covered.
You can
Let's move on to some comics. Have you been digging any comics lately, or had a chance to read them? Because I know with student government coming out, I'm sure, I don't know how actually far along you're done with the book, if the book's done completely or what have you, but like,
done. Student government. Yeah. Well, I know we'll talk about it later, but that's done.
Yeah.
It'll be out in like 2 or 3 weeks. But like we were chatting a little bit before the show, I don't have a whole lot of time. So my comics reading has dwindled. What I do read a lot of, though, is manga. So this is like one, I don't know if you can see it, Dan to Dan.
I've seen some people talk about that book, and it's a show too, I think.
Yeah, they just released
anime as well.
The anime. I saw some preview art of it online somewhere, and the art, that's what always brings me to manga, is the art. Sometimes the stories, I'm just like, I don't know. This story's a bit out there too, but the art is absolutely incredible. It's kinetic. The storytelling is great. The characters have real emotion, and that influences my art so much. Like I look at that and I'm like, that energizes me in a way the same way that, you know, when I was a kid, that reading the latest issue of Jim Lee's X-Men would, you know, I would be like, I got to draw this now, you know, and like, so I, you know, again, it's not that I've, you know, and I'm not trying to be snobby about it, like, oh, I just read manga now, but like, you know, your taste shift as you get older. But
oh no, for sure.
yeah, but I love manga. So I like that one, and Naoki Urasawa, who does Pluto, Monster, and 20th Century Boys. Those are my favorites. But I do. I mean, I have a huge bookshelf off camera here with like all my old trades and stuff, and I love, like, on my lunch break, pulling like an X-Men trade, or like I've got you know, Preacher. I've got Doom Patrol. The Grant Morrison Doom Patrol is such a huge
classic.
Yeah, I love that stuff. But you know, like my all-time favorite series is Excalibur by Marvel, and that's, if I could describe my personality in a comic, it would be Excalibur, because like it covers so much of like the stuff that I like, you know, and as my all-time kind of favorite depiction of Nightcrawler, who is my favorite character.
I mean, it's, you know, all respect to, you know, the abilities of John Byrne or Dave Cockrum, but you're not beating an Alan Davis Nightcrawler. Like you can't. No one's going to win that.
Yeah,
argument.
he has such a fluidity, like an acrobatic ease to his portrayal of Nightcrawler, and it's like, you know, I also teach part-time, and I'm teaching a storyboarding class this semester, and we do warm-ups in my class with my students, and like we're working on character designs and stuff, and I'm trying to tell them like how best to like do effective designs, and I'm thinking of stuff like Alan Davis's Nightcrawler. I'm like, he's taking a two-dimensional medium to represent a three-dimensional character, and like he's using gesture and exaggeration to really, you know, give this character, bring it to life on the page. And I love that. And that's what, you know, it's not something you can just do. You have to practice, and it takes skill, and you got to build to that. And that's what I always encourage, you know, aspiring artists or my students, is like, you know, check this out, look at this, look how they portray the characters, look how they exaggerate their, you know, poses and stuff. And, you know, it's just, I'm a big fan of like kinetic energy in comics. And you know, everybody, you know, I love Akira, and everybody points to that one panel with the motorcycle, you know, and like
everyone's got to homage it in some way.
Yeah. I mean,
point,
but
you know?
that's that for a reason, because it is so kinetic and it's so iconic. And yeah, I just think that it's so cool how comics can do that kind of stuff. That's what I feel comics does better than like animation and film and TV and all that stuff. It's like, even though it is a static medium, like when a really truly successful comic can really dynamically portray storytelling, it's like lightning in a bottle.
Oh yeah, 100%. And you know, you are far from the first guest to bring up manga as what you're reading now. And this is far from the first time I'm like, I got to get on some of that, because I just, you know, you mentioned taste changing as you get older, and it's extremely true, because like these days, like I can't connect with like regular superhero stories anymore. I'm not saying they're not great. I'm not saying people aren't doing amazing work.
Right.
I just like, I recently got the Marvel Unlimited app. I decided like, okay, you know, I want to start catching up on some things I missed. A lot of the Hickman X-Men stuff that I'm hearing so many great things about. And I'm reading that, and I'm like, you know, objectively, I'm like, you know, this is good, but it's just not like connecting me as like, and I'm thinking like, well, this just, you know, like instead of like trying to like say, well, it's not doing it right. I'm just like, no, I just don't think I'm not the audience for this right now. You know, I can appreciate the great art. I can appreciate the story and the writing and all that. But like, just in terms of like, I don't have that same feeling. And of course, probably nostalgia as is, but like, you know, reading like the crossovers or the event stuff, like I don't have the same feeling that when I was like waiting for that next issue of the Age of Apocalypse, or like, you know, just that anticipation of things where it's just like, I can't wait to read all this. You know, I read some of the newer Ultimate stuff that's been coming out. That's good. I've been enjoying that. Because I think I'm so far removed from so many like, or like some of the characters they're using and all that. Like I'm so unfamiliar with them. So it's like, I don't really have like any kind of like nostalgic ping in the back of my brain about any of it.
Right? Yeah.
But for the most part though, I really love reading all these independent comics that, my buddies make, or people come on the show, come and talk about. Like, I just got, from Kickstarters and stuff like that. Like I just got the second issue of this great book, My Neighbor Necromancer.
Oh, I've heard of that one. Yeah.
With Dylan Gilbertson, who's on the show, and Jason Piperberg, who's an amazing artist, and I love using his brushes, his digital brushes he sells. Cool. They're really great. But yeah, that was like, I saw that pop in my inbox and I'm like, oh boy, can't wait.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm talking to Joe today. I can't read it, but still tomorrow I'll read it.
Yeah.
But it's stuff like, that's what gets me excited about that. And and again, I have my shelves full of my favorites.
Yeah.
Things I'll read. Like I just finally finished reading the Invincible series.
Oh, nice.
That series was one of the series that got me back into reading comics.
Oh, cool.
And I was buying the hardcovers, the super huge one, but like the one that had like 3 trades in one.
Yeah.
And I've had the last 3 for years since the series ended. I just haven't read them yet. So I finally pulled the trigger and I read them. I'm like, wow, this, I don't think a lot of, it's hard to stick a landing, but I really think they did with that series.
Yeah. It's a great one.
Stuff like that. Sure. I love it, but there's also stuff like, Paper Girls on there, or of course I'm going to forget. Bob Quinn. He had a real great graphic novel came out last year, or Mike Norton. Him and Rafer Roberts had the Rock Gods of Jackson, Tennessee last year.
Yeah.
And I've known Mike for 10, 11 years now, I think.
Nice.
Something crazy like that, even longer maybe.
Wow.
When did the Watchmen movie come out?
That's when 9. Yeah, right?
Yeah. Okay. So I've known Mike since then. Because the comic shop that I go to, they're friends with him and they hosted a screening or whatever, and that's where I met him. But like,
he's so nice.
He's awesome. He's like the best comics big brother you could have.
For sure.
And but yeah, that his book last year with Rafer, that was that's easily one of my favorite books of all time at this point.
Oh, wow.
They just like,
have you had Rafer on your show?
No, I have not. I know I need to get it.
Yeah.
I've had multiple people tell me who have talked to him before, like, dude, you guys would like, you guys would jive. I'm like, well, cool.
Yeah, he's such a he's a. I feel like Rafer's like an experience almost as a person. He's so great. And I'm actually working with him right now on a mini series for Mad Cave.
Awesome.
And,
nice.
It's so, he's so crazy. He has some of the most out there ideas, and yes, I loved his book.
Yeah. From I mostly know his stuff from when he's worked with Mike. But like even then, there's stuff like Grumble, or like even the Archer and Armstrong stuff, and like they were doing like just crazy stuff. But I've had a lot of people say that I should get him on. I should try to get him on the show.
But independent comics. You're right. Like I love creator-owned stuff. Like that's because that's where I got my break, was in creator-owned, and so I'm always happy to like check out creator-owned stuff. I haven't, I like the crowdfunding stuff too, but like one and this one I got just because I'm friends with him, and I'm sure you've talked to him, Nick Patera.
Nicky, yeah.
I got his Axe Wielder John, and
it's nuts. It's so crazy.
My God. I love that, and I'm so happy for him because I've known him so long, and to see him actually get to do a book that is like 100% him and 100% his voice is like, it's so enjoyable, and like you can tell reading it how much he has enjoyed creating that story. And I'm not gonna lie, and if he sees this, he'll just laugh. But I'm a little jealous because I want that for myself too. Because like it's not that I hated the things that I've worked on, but I've never written a comic, and even though my wife tells me all the time, so you have all these ideas, you need to just write it and do it. I'm like, yeah, I know, but I got this other gig offered to me, so I'm like, it just keeps getting put off. But like Nick, I admire the guy for just saying, you know what, I'm gonna tell this story. I need to tell the story, and he crowdfunded it, and it was so successful. I was like, that was so great for him, and the product is amazing. And he's like, that's his thing now. That's so great.
And if I recall correctly, he drew every panel on a full sheet 11 by 17 page.
Yeah,
which
he's
is
crazy.
such an insane Nick Pitara thing to do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I used to interact with Nick a lot in the earlier days of Twitter when he
Yeah.
was a little more reckless online.
Oh yeah. When he was
And
this is back when it was Nicky Poo? His
yeah,
name?
him and Tommy Patterson, rest in peace.
Oh, poor Tommy, yeah.
Yeah, and Ryan Stegman.
Mhm.
You know, back when it would just be, you would log on to Twitter just to see those three just like giving each other like
Did
so
you
much
get
shit
to
online.
did you get to do any of the Skype calls with him? Because like we used to be on this Skype call group.
No. What was it? You know Ryan Lee?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Ryan one time told me like, "Oh yeah, you should go," because I think he was on part of some of them. He's
Uh-huh.
like, "Yeah, just ping Ryan or Stegman
Yeah.
or something," because I've again I got pretty friendly with Stegman for a while
Mhm.
before he became Ryan Stegman, which
Yeah.
is not a knock on him because he's obviously way too fucking busy to like just shoot the shit online anymore.
Right.
But but no, but yeah, I never pulled the trigger because I never was like available during the day to like try to
Mhm.
like weasel in. Like, hey
Yeah.
guys, can I come on?
It
And it's funny because now that over the past couple of years, now that I am home and I am
Mhm.
working on comics during the day, no one's really doing those
I
Skype calls
know, I
anymore.
know. It's
And I'm
all like
like, yeah,
yeah.
I was just talking to my wife earlier today. I'm like, I feel like I need to like just like call, get a few people,
Yeah.
because
Start your
I
own.
started the podcast
Yeah.
to like talk to my friends who I don't really get a chance to talk to because I don't travel the country doing cons.
Yeah.
It's really just whatever's in the local area. And even
Mhm.
then you get a very limited time to talk to people aside
Sure.
from whatever online.
Yeah.
And, it to me, it still feels weird just to call somebody like, "Hey man, what you up to?" Like, just out of the blue.
Yeah.
Though I know there's like a handful of people I know if I did that, they'd be just fine talking to me. But like
Yeah.
most of us, including myself, would be like, so what's up? What do you need?
Yeah.
Is there an emergency?
Well,
What's going on? Why don't you text first?
it's really weird because making comics, as you know, it's a very, and especially in this day and age, it's a very solitary experience. We're here
Yeah.
in our little studios and offices, whatever, making our comics. And the Skype group was great because it was like having a bullpen almost. Like, it was
Yeah.
just, but like some people had the cameras on, some didn't. Some people just did audio, but I would leave it on for hours. I'd just be, drawing, and it'd
Mm-hmm.
just be in the background, and occasionally somebody would chime in. We'd get into discussions, and it was nice. It was a nice way to socialize because we're not very social. We don't get to socialize very much outside of cons,
No, yeah.
and like you said, it's pretty limited there anyway. So,
Yeah.
it was nice, and I do miss it. But I also know that like I don't think I would do well like in a in person like art studio, because like I don't know, like I just very when I draw, like I'm looking over at my other screen, which is my tablet. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm very focused on that, and like I would be too distracted with other artists around. I would want to get up and look like, ooh, what are you doing? Like, how did you do that? And,
Yeah,
and my
exactly.
productivity would
Yeah.
probably plummet.
Yeah. I mean, because I would feel the same way because as we all are, but like
Mhm.
we're fans of the process, so it's like
Yeah,
you want to see somebody working, you want to see
yeah,
someone like, oh, how are you pulling that line, how are you doing
yeah,
this,
yeah,
just it would be incredibly distracting.
yeah.
I technically do share an office, my wife's like
Hmm.
2 feet that way, but
Oh, okay.
completely different field, completely different job, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's usually I'm hearing like business stuff there, and
Hmm.
then I'm just like got my headphones here, so it still is pretty solitary and all that.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's just not that water cooler
Right.
time or you run into someone in the break room like, hey, how's it going,
Yeah.
you're on lunch or whatever, like, hey, you want to go get lunch, you just still kind of have that thing.
Yeah.
A real funny thing, I was opening up Instagram and I was just kind of scrolling through some stuff, and my son, he's 5, and he's looking over, he's like, he sees comic art flying, he's
Yeah.
like, daddy, are those your coworkers? I'm like, kinda, I
That's
guess.
great. Oh man,
Are they
that's
your
so awesome.
friends? I'm like, a couple are. People are just people whose drawings I like.
Nice. Do your
But
kids do
yeah,
your kids like your work? Do they like are they, into your
Um,
art
oh
at
yeah,
all?
they like the fact that daddy draws.
Yeah.
Um, Now most of my work for some reason, I never thought I would be, but I draw like horror stuff.
Right.
You know, like I never thought that would be my thing, but it kind of has become my thing.
Sure.
Which is fine. Like I enjoy what I enjoy the stuff I'm doing. It's just I can't have them read much of it right now.
Yeah,
Even some of the more tamer stuff, like my series Evie and the Helsings, it's not like, you know, the gore is a bit, even then it's not like ultra rendered, intestines everywhere type of like real nasty, you know, 2080 stuff or like, you know, the more extreme kind of stuff. But there's definitely like, you know, big blood spurts and things getting chopped off and stuff like that. So it's kind of hard to like have you know, they'll see me drawing for like if I'm going to be drawing around them, like I'm usually drawing like a talking head page or just something. So to them, they're kind of like why are you drawing that? I'm like, because you kind of have to. And sometimes they'll see me draw like an action scene if there's nothing too crazy. But I do have some like other stuff that I've drawn that they've liked. I drew like a Godzilla print a few years ago that they really enjoyed. But right now they're just happy that I can draw like Pokemon or Mega Man for them.
That's
when
great.
We're drawing or something like that. Then so you know they're getting there. They're getting there because they both love to draw, which is great.
Good.
But you know they're, you know, my daughter's 8, going to be 9 very soon. My son is 5. And so they're at that stage where like they're kind of like really figuring out the things they like. And I like too many things. You know, I have the guitars and I have the Godzillas and I have the comics and I have you know the metal stuff and I have all this other stuff, and it's like I don't push any of this on them. Like I'm like, here, you're gonna read this comic or you're gonna read this. And, you know, so my daughter loves, you know, graphic novels, but she likes Dogman.
Sure.
Which is great. We saw the movie; it was hilarious. And just like they have like new Dr. Seuss graphic novels coming out. So then she's like all excited about those. But my son, he just likes drawing whatever. They were both not really big fans of my music playing. They usually like tell me to stop playing guitar. Even if I was playing something nice, they would like only occasionally if I was like playing something silly or I was playing like a song they knew, like a kid's song or something they knew. But just recently, like within the past couple months, my son is finally like cool with hearing like just metal. As long as I don't play it too loud.
Nice.
And literally just this weekend, he was sitting right here on my desk, just, you know, drawing away and his little we've got them these little like LED tablets, like they're like $10 on Amazon or something, but like you draw on them and you can press a button and it erases or whatever. So they love using those, and I'm just sitting here like relearning No Remorse from Metallica.
Nice.
And he's just like, and I'm like thinking in my head, like, this is like a moment I would, you know, this is like the dad moment you think about, like, I'm gonna, you know, I got you know, got kids, and you know, he's just jamming along to No Remorse with me, and and all that. But yeah, you know, it's, you know, they've gotten their some interest in it. Like my daughter likes the Godzilla stuff. She doesn't watch the movies with me, but she likes the vinyls. She likes that I have Godzilla comics. And all that. I think that's just one thing is this, she's just like, Daddy likes this. This is so, you know, I'm gonna comment on this because I know Daddy likes this or whatever. That's but great. They're really into Pokemon right now, especially my daughter. But that's a whole other thing. It's a whole other thing. Not even playing the game, just the collecting and this like learning about the evolutions and things like that. She's all about that. Like she's like calling out like we got her this big thick essential handbook of 1,000+ Pokemon, and I would put good money and she's got most of them like partially memorized or something. Like I don't know, it's nuts.
It is, man.
How about you? Do your kids like have they glommed onto yourself? Like I've seen a lot of cool fun like cosplay photos you guys have done. Like the Dumbledore one was like I saw that one. I saw that one pop up. probably a couple years ago, I think maybe.
Yeah, it was a couple
but just
years
stuck
ago.
in my brain as like that's got to be like one like a dad memory seared in
That
your
was
brain.
so funny because I cosplayed the characters from Dumb and Dumber with my oldest son Logan because he has dark brown hair, and his haircut at the time was pretty close to Jim Carrey's bowl cut in there. And my wife was like, "Y'all got to cosplay as Dumb and Dumber," and I was like, "Okay." I was like, "But I don't want to wear a wig, and I don't want to shave my beard." She's like, "It doesn't matter."
They'll get it.
Yeah, it was hilarious. He loved it. Like uh, they've been to Comic Cons before with me, and they kind of just sat at the table and they gotten bored pretty quickly. But this was New York, and my youngest, this was like his second or third time, or third time to the city, and the second time at the show. And he was like, I think he was really nervous about it, but boy, did people just love that cosplay. We got stopped for photos so much, and it was so fun. And it was great to have that moment with him. It was, again, another dad-son moment. But like, in terms of like, otherwise with my career, I think they're kind of over it. They kind of over the coolness factor of it, because when they were younger, when they were your kids' age, it's like they thought it was so neat. Dad draws for a living. And my kid's school district did this thing called Mapping the Future, where they interviewed parents with interesting jobs. And they interviewed me, and they did this whole like video package, and they showed me drawing and stuff, and asked me questions and stuff. And they showed it to the entire school district, all the schools.
So they're like, "That's my dad."
No, it was, my kid was like, "Oh my God, that's so cool. That's my dad." But they're not as impressed anymore. But because like the stuff I draw isn't really kind of what they're really interested in. I mean, my youngest was, he was into the Captain Underpants and all that stuff for a long time. And the other one, the older one, he still has Marvel Unlimited, and he was really big in MCU for a while, so he wanted to read all the comics, so he did that for a long time. But his interest has waned in that. But they also draw. They're both really great artists, but their interests in art kind of have shifted into different avenues. Like my oldest, now he does like a YouTube channel, like a parody channel. That's where he does his art. He does like really rough South Park style animations on that.
Okay, cool.
And then my youngest is like shifted into doing like orchestra. So he's like into music now. And so he plays the violin. He's really good at it. So they don't draw as much, but they do still like it. And, I mean, we even had like my favorite art book. I don't have it nearby, but it's the How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way by Stan Lee and John Buscema. Like, boy, I have worn that book. I had to buy like 2 or 3 copies of it in my life just because I've drawn so much. I use all those lessons in that book to this day. But my youngest and I we would practice. We would draw the heads in the Marvel book, and we would draw the poses and stuff. And it was great, father-son bonding time. But like, again, none of the stuff I've worked on has ever really appealed to them. Like I do remember one specific instance talking about drawing gore and stuff. So Morning Glories had a lot of violence in it, a lot of gore, horror stuff too. And of course, I had just gotten a box of trades from Image, and like I think it was volume 3 or whatever. Anyway, at one point, there's a double-page spread of one of the characters getting shot, and it's like this, Kill Bill kind of blood spray kind of thing.
Yeah, I remember.
And of course, my oldest, he was 3 at the time, picked it up and opened it right to that spread. And he was like, "Dad, what happened to her?" And I was like, "She spilled the ketchup." And he's like, "Oh, okay." And we put it away. But yeah, I know. I was like, "How do I?"
No trauma.
I know. I was like, I don't want to like tell him, "Oh, she died." But yeah, it's by the time I got onto Archie, which was more appropriate for them, they're just like, it's not really our gig,
Yeah.
But
like,
I'm hoping that at least,
or...
I mean, they thought it was cool, and I drew a couple issues of the Flash because I put them in little cameos. But they were just like, "Oh, that's neat," But I'm kind of hoping, at least my oldest, I'm hoping he'll at least give my new book like a cursory read, because he would appreciate the humor in it. But again, I don't try to push this stuff on them. I want them to kind of grow into things that they want to do.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I want them, I want them to nerd out about the things that actually do interest them.
Yeah.
And if it happens to be the same stuff as me, great. If it's not, I'm gonna support. Like, I have zero interest in Pokemon, but my daughter, just before bedtime, we got her a sticker book, one of the sticker books, so she likes to, grab her Pokeball, and she'll look at the next one for the sticker. She's like, "All right, Dad, let's catch them," and then
Nice.
she'll flip through, she'll find them, and she'll like grab her essential book, her big essential book, which she calls her Pokédex, which essentially is what it is, I guess. And then she'll read off all the stats of it. She's like, "All right, let's do it." And then she'll catch them, put them on the sticker, and that's it. And that's I don't care about Pokemon, but I love doing that with her because it's something she's really excited about.
Yeah, that's great.
And so I'm hoping to have stuff eventually for them. That's more age appropriate, but it's they've flipped through some other stuff, and thanks to just a lot of stuff, they know what vampires are and zombies are and stuff like that. And she keeps going for the Marvel Zombies book I got, and I'm like, no, that's a little too much, honey. A little too much.
Yeah.
But it's trying to find a bit of a balance there with that. But
for sure.
It's I think it's important just to not force it on them, because I feel like that's the best way to really see where they're at, and it's a great way to connect with them, because it's like it's not putting the spot on them to like, oh, I have to like the thing Daddy likes so I can spend time with him. It's like, no, I like this thing and Daddy's doing that with me. So but that it's cool to hear that, at the very least, your sons are like exploring their interests and all that. And you mentioned your youngest is into music, and I know you have a music background.
I do. That's a good segue. Good job, Don.
You do? Yeah. We're going to jump into some good old metal chat, but like, I saw that you had a musician background, but like, so is it in guitar? Is it in orchestra type stuff? What's your background?
I mean, obviously, I did the school band thing in elementary school. I played clarinet, which I hated. It sucked.
Yeah.
So it's funny kind of how my music is actually kind of tied into my comics as well, because when I was in high school, or I was, as a kid, junior high and high school, I wanted to be a comic book artist. That's what I wanted to do, because that was, again, I'm aging myself here. That's when Image started. That's when Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, McFarlane were all the things. Like, that's what I want to do. I love that stuff. But as I became a teenager, I discovered the guitar, and I discovered like metal, because my older brothers, I have two older half brothers. They're like 12 years older than me, and they were 80s metal nerds, and like I kind of got in it through them. But I discovered that girls liked guitars better than comics, at least where I'm from. So I was like, I'm going to do the guitar. So I dropped comics. I dropped drawing for like 10 years. I fell in love with metal music. And it was kind of because my brother got me a Squier, Stratocaster for my 14th birthday to teach me how to play guitar. And boy, I wore that guitar out. So like that's kind of where I started. And then I learned riffs. I would buy every guitar magazine. It was either Guitar World, Guitar.
Yeah, guitar. Yeah, it was Guitar World. I think there's what was the other one? There's another one that was. They had the tabs in the back. Yeah.
I was like, I gotta get more tabs, Yeah.
And
then by the time I got to college, again, kind of shifting music tastes or whatever, I started playing acoustic more. And they had like open mics around my town and stuff, so I would play there, and then ended up forming a band, and we lasted for like a semester, but before we all kind of scattered to the winds. But it was such an exciting experience doing that band thing, and it's not something I could ever do again. But that was actually the moment when I kind of got out of it, but I still always just kind of played. I have a couple of my guitars in here now, and I play bass a little bit. But yeah, that's that. I mean, and then I was a vocalist. I was the lead singer for my band, but we didn't play metal, but because I can't do that. As much as I love metal, like I have mad respect for metal vocalists, because the amount of strength and power it takes to pull off like really effective
Yeah.
vocals. Like it's almost superhuman, you know.
Yeah. And not just I know you're just not talking about like the guttural scream guys or the animal sounds that people do these days, which is impressive and really a skill in its own right.
Yeah.
But I know you're talking like the power, like the Halfords, the
Halfords, the Bruce Dickinsons, and like just
exactly.
the strength in their voice. Like that's a lot of effort, you know.
Yeah, so. It's interesting because like your story is it has a lot of parallels to mine, you know, and we're only I think only a couple years apart in age, because I was born in 82, so like
I was 78, so
it's 4 years, so not much difference there, and kind of the same thing. Like I had the in the comics in high school and whatever, I kind of got burnt out on drawing in comics, and took a break for like 10 years myself.
Yeah.
Because I started playing bass and I got into a band. I started liking music, but then I was also like got into photography and all these other things.
Yeah.
And then once I picked up, comics again, and the band thing was just like, I was never like, I want to be in a touring band or metal band or whatever, I just liked playing gigs and writing songs. But once that kind of, that main one kind of fell apart, I just kind of like didn't know what to do with myself. And then that's when I kind of got back into drawing and all that. And then the slow process to here. And in this, in the background. I mean, this happened, around, this all began about 10 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Because I was working, I got like an anniversary bonus for the job I was working at. And I'm like, I think I'm gonna invest in some music stuff, because I had like a couple I still have my basses and a couple of guitars, but like I didn't have any like like metal guitars, so I bought like a John 5 Squier Telecaster.
Nice.
And I just fell in love with that guitar, and I bought like a recording interface and some Easy Drummer program and some recording, and just learned from there and just did stuff. So it's been this process over the past, I can't believe it's been 10 years, Jesus. It's of learning and stuff. And then like this whole collection thing behind me, it kind of exploded with the pandemic. I think it was a coping mechanism. They're all like super cheap guitars, with like one or two exceptions, but like, that also didn't help either. Cause like good, like, you mentioned getting the Squier back in the, I had a Squier bass. And now for the same price that, my dad paid for my bass and your brother paid for that guitar, you could get something that's like 3 times as good for that price these days, which is weird considering the way the world is right now. But like for some reason the guitar economy is like, you just been no bigger bang for your buck time now than now. But metal, I had the neighbor across the street, thrash dude. Just thrash CDs, all
Nice.
From DRI to SOD to Metallica and Slayer and Testament and all that stuff. And then just getting deep into that. And he was a drummer, so then me and my buddy from high school, that was our first band, where we'd essentially just play like Kill 'Em All, the whole Kill 'Em All album with no vocals every weekend or whatever.
Amazing.
But that was a lot of fun. But so my metal tastes were kind of shaped from there. But since then, obviously I kind of love like pretty much all metal. I think it's I think it's more of a medium than a genre, to be honest. But because I feel just like everything, and kind of my go-to for this is like, I could ask 5 different people, what's your favorite metal band? You're going to get 5 wildly different answers. Unless you're at the same concert. But but you ask this random people who say they like metal, you're gonna get everything from like, you're gonna get someone who's like, oh, fucking Maiden, dude, like none better. Then someone's gonna be like, hell no, Megadeth for life. And then someone else is gonna be like, what? Cannibal Corpse? What the fuck are you talking about? And then so on and so forth. And that's kind of one of the things I love about it, because it's just. And then there's like so many, especially these days too, when like everyone has access to everything. I think we're all just kind of like, actually, this is pretty cool, because I never liked death metal at all. Like that just wasn't for me. But like in the past several years, I have found bands that like, okay, these became my gateway bands into death metal. Not that I love all death metal, but like there's certainly a good handful plus of bands that I'm like, yeah, I like all their stuff.
Oh, cool.
Even some black metal stuff. But
Wow.
as I said many times before, I kind of avoid black metal stuff just because I don't like having to research the band to make sure they're not like Nazis or weird murderer peoples.
Yeah, that's a little too much
Beforehand.
work to do there.
there's a little too much overlap there sometimes.
Yeah.
But
Right.
some real safe black metal is actually the artist Chuck Beebe.
Okay.
He has his own black metal projects he does, which are
Really?
really great stuff. He's a great musician too.
Huh.
And also like comics are filthy with metalheads and filthy with musicians.
Yeah.
Like just so
Funny how that
many.
works out.
It's just insane. I'm resisting every urge just to ask you, like what guitars do you have? What's in there? Because I want to talk to you about what metal you've been enjoying lately.
Well, obviously, since we're twinsies here, my all-time favorite metal band is Black Sabbath.
I think we were catching a vibe today for sure.
Yeah, I know, and that's something.
If you're listening to the audio only version of the podcast, we're both wearing Black Sabbath t-shirts right now.
Yeah, I mean that's the band that I can never drop. I can never just drop them at all. But I mean, I've gone through phases. Like I listen to like it's funny because what I listen to most these days when I'm working is actually video game soundtracks. But when I'm driving, I like to listen to like songs, like actual by bands and stuff. But yeah, like I will always be into like Black Sabbath and that umbrella of stuff, from the solo stuff that they do, Ozzy, Dio, Tony Iommi's solo stuff, the kind of the family tree there. Like that's pretty much all in my rotation, like, constantly. I do actually, it's funny you mentioned Testament. That was probably my favorite band in high school.
Nice.
And I still I get excited when I see that they're going to put out a new album. Even though like, I'm like, there is no way I'm going to get my wife to go to that concert. But,
well, it doesn't help that the fact that Testament's putting out like arguably their best stuff in the past decade.
Yeah.
Because I never really got too much into Testament. Like I always liked them fine. Like Alex Skolnick is like a riff genius.
Right. Yeah.
And it's just insane. But like, whenever he was in the band, claiming he's out for band for a while, but like the past Dark Roots of the Earth stuff and like all that it's just like just the way like even the way the vocals like matured, and they still have that 80s thrash feel, but they're definitely more, they got that bit more more edge, that age to them.
I love how diverse like their songwriting is too. And like Chuck is such a great singer. He can do the death growls. He can do the melodic singing. He can do ballads, and I totally respect that. And I like they have, I mean, not every album is, stellar.
No, you're not going to have not every album is going to be back-to-back banger when you had a career that long and that much output. But like if I were to sit down with, a band like Testament or, bands akin to them who've been around similar times or similar amount of albums, and I can put together like a multi-hour playlist of their best songs, like that's a fucking career, dude. That's an insane amount of talent right there. And also, Testament, I think Testament, to be honest, pound for pound, are the best musicians in thrash of that era.
Yeah.
Especially
with Alex. I mean, Alex is incredible.
And I my number one band of all time will always be Metallica. Like I was the obsessive about them in the 90s. I got into them through Load.
Okay, yeah.
But then I became someone who I loved all of it. I even like Saint Anger. Like I know it's got its problems. But like there's stuff in there I really, really like.
Yeah.
But it's also to the point, they're the band I've listened to the point where it's like I don't listen to them anymore because I just I don't need to put them on. I just have it in my head.
Agreed.
There's a running joke. Yeah.
I mean, like Load is, everybody bags on Load, that whole era and everything, but that was my jam. I saw them in concert during that era from like 96 to like 2000 or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times. I went to so many of their shows. I was at they did a show in Fort Worth, which is, in the Dallas area. It's right next to Dallas, and they filmed it and they released a video. It's called
the Cunning Stunts. That was the Cunning Stunts one. Yeah.
So
Okay.
I was there while they were taping that, and
wow. Okay.
that was so awesome because they're like, okay, we're gonna replay that song because we were recording this. So if y'all okay with it, we're gonna just play it again. And everyone's like, hell yeah, So we got to hear them play the same song twice. But I mean, it was that was one of my all time favorite concert experiences. Right. And
that's so funny because I must have watched that tape / DVD.
Yeah,
so many times.
It was great.
And Joe was there in the audience.
Yeah, I know. Somewhere in there, there's me. But that's such great stuff. I mean, my brothers were classic Metallica fans, and the Black Album I think was their kind of jumping off point. I mean, they liked it, but then they got into we get into the Load era and stuff, and they're like, I'm not too into that. But that's kind of where I kind of jumped in, even though I did kind of jump in with the Black Album. But it's the same way. I don't really listen to them much anymore because they were such a huge part of my life for so long, and those songs are still in my head. Sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't turn them off if they're on the radio. Like if it pops up on a shuffle, of course, you leave it on. But it's definitely one of those things where it's just like it's just so ingrained. My only Metallica kind of regret is not. So back when they were doing the Garage Inc. tour, my buddy and I were waiting outside because you used to have to wait outside grocery stores to get tickets.
I remember this.
Because you couldn't do them online yet. No. And we're all waiting. There's a huge line of us, but we got there super early. But then they made us all line up, and then they were calling us in one by one to buy our tickets.
What?
And my buddy and I, we didn't have the forethought because we were dumb teenagers to because I got in ahead of him. So give me your money, I'll get our tickets. Because you could buy, I think they said you could buy up to 4 tickets per person. So I went and I bought my ticket. As I'm walking out the door, my buddy's next in line to go in. They're running out behind me. Sold out. Because they're playing a small club or a small venue. They weren't paying it, they could play the United Center for 25,000 people, but this was a 3,000 seater. And I felt so terrible because he was a much bigger Metallica fan at the time than I was. So I basically sold him my ticket because I wasn't going to go by myself.
Yeah.
But the only real regret I have with that, besides the not thinking ahead, was I never saw them with Jason in concert, and Jason was my guy.
Yeah. He was so great. That's all the times I saw him was with Jason. I actually don't think I ever saw them with Robert.
And Robert's great. He's a fantastic player. We saw them twice with Robert, and I want to see them one more time at the very least. But I mean, it was great and all that. But I was just so bummed that I wasn't able to see them with Jason. And then have you checked out the Newstead solo album from the 2000? I love that album so much. It's so good. It's so I think it's so underrated.
I know. I wish he would do more, but
I know why he stopped, but it's also this it wasn't because people weren't interested. It's I think he just wasn't used to he was trying to do it at a level he was used to, and it just wasn't there. He had to start from scratch again, and fully understandable. You don't want to do that, don't do it. Don't dump all your money into it or whatever. But they played some shows recently, and I think he was kind of making some noise about hey, if to get some good reception, maybe we'll put it back together.
Nice.
But that was such a great just metal album.
And
I like to recommend that when the people who are I like Metallica, I like this, I like that, but this other stuff, it's too much. It's too much. I'm try this one. This is a good thing. Good there. So with Sabbath being the number one, and you like all of it, which more than fair. But do you have if you had to gun to your head, Ozzy versus Dio, or are you gonna pull a Tony Martin out of your hat?
Well, we talked about this when we first started talking about me being on this show, and I'm a Dio guy through and through. Dio, I was trying to get it in time. I had ordered a shirt that's the same exact logo as you got the Master of Reality logo, but it says Dio era Sabbath. But it
Oh, that
didn't
would have
get
been
here in
perfect.
time. I was really bummed.
I
But
yeah. I remember that. I just wanted to confirm just because I did not like. I'm an Ozzy Sabbath guy. To me,
sure.
Ozzy is Black Sabbath with
Yeah,
those
for sure.
guys. But I did a few years ago go back and listen to all the Dio Sabbath ones, and I'm like, there's good stuff here, but to me, it
Yeah.
just doesn't feel like Black Sabbath.
Right.
Especially when you get into like Dehumanizer and stuff. Like
Oh, sure.
Dehumanizer is a great album. It's a good album,
Yeah.
hands down. No,
Yeah.
but like it doesn't feel like a Black Sabbath album. And of course, because
Right.
you got the musicians are constantly changing, aside from
Mhm.
Tony
Yeah.
and Dio and all that. But like, and then like the closest thing that feels like Black Sabbath to me is like the Iommi Hughes album, which
Mhm.
even then it's not exactly like that at all, but it has that like
Right.
vibe.
Right.
But but then of course the Heaven and Hell, because they couldn't legally call
Yeah.
it Black Sabbath. That's
Right.
like the best, to me, the best Dio Black Sabbath album, because
Oh,
it
for sure.
feels like Black Sabbath to me.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of those, like, I know it's not like considered underrated because people love that album. It's
Yeah.
highly regarded, I know, but to me it
Sure.
still feels, I feel like it gets lost in the conversation.
Mhm.
And it'll never happen, but I really wish they would just like reissue that as a Black Sabbath album.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But they
I think it
won't
would be
ever.
great. Right.
Especially now. Especially now,
Obviously not. No.
but like I think that's kind of like the bridge I can meet, because my
Yeah.
buddy Dave Jordan, who
Oh, I love
you know
Dave. Yeah.
yeah, he the non-human audio pedals and all that, he's
Yeah.
he kind of sparked my, like, maybe I'll go check out some Dio Sabbath,
Yeah.
maybe I'll check it out, because that's his preference, because
Nice.
he's not an Ozzy guy. but
Oh, okay. Nice.
but
Well, I mean,
well, I mean, it's not like he hates it or nothing, but like,
yeah.
but
Well, Ozzy was like my gateway to Sabbath, really, because
yeah.
my brothers had a poster of Ozzy in their room, and it was from his solo era. But he's like standing on a throne with like blood dripping out of his mouth,
Hmm.
and it freaked me out. But like it was that thing that like I was fascinated with why
Yeah.
it scared me, And
Yeah.
like when I first heard Black Sabbath, the song,
Hmm.
uh, it was the same feeling. I was like, this is scary, but it's very fascinating. I like it.
Yeah.
It's spooky. It's not like you think, oh, they're writing scary music. That sounds so lame. But if you actually just like put your headphones on and put the first, like the actual song Black Sabbath, and just listen to it. I mean, like what they did there is like, it's incredible. It's
Yeah.
like, it's so
Yeah.
eerie, and nobody has like been able to recapture that kind of vibe, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That what
No,
they did.
there's bands that get close, or they
Yeah.
have their own version of it.
Yeah.
But it's definitely like everyone's kind of they're trying to reach that pinnacle of that. But
Yeah.
like it's hard to beat the originator, because then everything, it's like, it's the same thing when people are like, oh, the Beatles are so amazing, and people are just copying the Beatles. Like, well, yeah, they were the first to do the things,
Right.
and like, how are
Right.
you going to compare against that? Like, how are you going to compare against
Exactly.
the first people to use all these
Yeah.
modern things people do with music now? But yeah,
Yeah.
the same feeling with just hearing those opening notes of that. And even then, like, just like the harmonica and the
Yeah.
wizarding, like,
So
it's
yeah.
so like, out of context, you're like, okay, that's
Right.
weird. But like,
Yeah.
if you're listening to the album and you're like, this is ominous. Like,
Yeah.
this is really, you know
Right.
and
I wish they
not
put
to say that
more harmonica
yeah.
in their songs, but
Yeah.
yeah.
More harmonica metal.
Yeah.
uh Except for you, Godsmack, you've done enough harmonica.
Uh,
I just
it's funny. It's funny. It's like, obviously I have major respect for the Ozzy era, and I do love the Ozzy era, and especially the first, set of albums. But what, everybody bags on Technical Ecstasy and Never Say Die. I'm not a fan of Technical Ecstasy. It's probably one of my least of their favorite of theirs, but I actually really love Never Say Die. I think that is like such a great album. Like, I don't know what it is, but like my favorite song, one of my all-time favorite songs is Air Dance, which is one on there, and it's almost uh, like a jazz song. It's like
yeah, yeah.
so not doom and gloom or anything.
Well, yeah, it's interesting because, like, again, like, I'm not sitting here claiming that every single Ozzy
Yeah,
Sabbath album is solid gold. It's definitely had some lower points, but they also had stuff like that. And it's like, it's a good reminder. Remember, these are just guys just playing blues.
Yeah.
Like before they kind of like came across this version of what they're doing now. So like they were still writing the blueprint on that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like they're just doing whatever, they're just trying whatever. It's kind of like, when, Metallica switched up to like load and reload and stuff like that. And it, granted, like, I don't think you can equate Sabbath's influence on metal and as a whole as to Metallica's influence like on thrash, because there's so many other thrash bands like that did things that became defining just like defining things of that genre. But like they kind of they took it to the point to where it's like, what else are you going to do with this for them? So like, let's strip it back, let's do this, let's just do this, and that kind of like, speaks to me as a creative person. Just like they just wanted to do it, whatever they wanted to do. Sure, they have their own opinions about how they went about it these days, but like, it's like they just decided like, we're going to do this now, and that's what we want to do, and that's just, you got to respect that. But it, in terms of like modern stuff, I don't know, have you ever listened to Orange Goblin?
I have. I do like that. Yeah.
Because I tell people like, it's, it's like, it's like, do you like the Sword? Now imagine the Sword, but instead of them worshiping like Black Sabbath, they worship Motorhead.
Wow.
It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
There's another great band called Haunt.
I've heard of Haunt as well.
They kind of get that vibe of they're more hard rocky than metal. But they have that feeling of just like classic, like heavy metal, classic kind of stuff. Is there anything like, more modern, or I guess more any of the newer bands that are really exciting you these days?
I mean, I do love Gojira. I think they're fantastic, and the fact that they're from France and they're able to pull off this kind of music. I mean, not that French people can't play metal.
It just seems like it's such an unassuming place to have this band come from.
You would think it's like, oh, they're not going to be into that. Like, no, I'm thinking, I don't know why when I think of French music, I think of like French pop or something like that. But, like, because like I like I said, I'm very much in the kind of classic, more classical heavy metal kind of framework or whatever. But I do like to check out every once in a while, like what's new. But I mean, I'm not into like the extreme metal stuff. Like I had my death metal phase for a little bit. I like listened to Cannibal Corpse and Napalm Death, but I kind of got out of that, and I decided I liked more melodic singing for the most part, which is why I like Dio, because Dio was such a melodic vocalist. But one band that recently they just put something out that I realized is called The Watchers. I don't know if you've heard of The Watchers.
The name sounds familiar, but I can't say I've heard that.
Well, they had a song or an album called Sabbath Highway, and I was like, so I was intrigued right away from that. But their music is very much in the throwback to the Ozzy era of Sabbath, but it's also very melodic. Not that Ozzy wasn't melodic, but it's not just like a copycat basically of Ozzy. I've been listening to them a lot lately because they just put out a new album, and it's really I don't know if they just put it out because they came up on my shuffle. I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go check out, because now you said we have access to everything. So I was like, I'm gonna check out, see if there's anything new.
As I'm literally going on my phone right now to make sure I put that on there.
Nice.
So I don't miss it. There's a band, Bloody Hammers. Have you checked them out?
I'm gonna look that up.
They are very much in that Sabbathy, like so much so. I think one of their logos is basically this Master Reality font.
Oh yeah, look at that. It's hilarious. I love it.
What was it? There's another one I was trying to think of. I keep wanting to say like blood sacrifice, but that's not what it is. It's It's another one, but it's also very Sabbathy, like old school Sabbathy. But it's a female vocalist. I'm trying to think of their name. I'm gonna space on it. God, what am I doing? Like I'm trying to search my here, searching blood. That brings up way too many things. Too many bands with blood in it. Oh, Blood Ceremony. That's what it is.
Blood Ceremony. Okay.
Yeah, they're definitely in that vein.
Another one that I liked, and you've probably heard of them too, is Pallbearer.
Yes, they're great.
Yes,
yeah, they're
very
great.
throwback Sabbath sound to that. I really liked the stuff I've heard of theirs. And Spirit Adrift. I don't know if you've heard Spirit Adrift.
Oh yeah, Spirit. They're really great. Yeah. They're like they're another one of those bands of like someone's just like it's like classic heavy metal kind of stuff like that.
Yeah.
Boom, right there. Yeah. Like they had an EP out and an album a couple years ago. I think at this point that's when I first got heard about them because I typically go to, Friday is usually typically a gym day for me. So I'll get up and I'll like kind of like scroll through the new metal releases and just put something on to like just like you're buying a book or something. Like, what cover looks cool? Do I recognize this band? What's this? And flip through and see. And that's how I found like them and a bunch of other bands like that. Just kind of like tossing them on and being like, okay, this is cool,
Nice.
But it's also kind of like the monkey's paw of having everything though, because then you can't really go back and listen to much stuff because you're finding so much new stuff now.
Right, exactly.
Like aside from Sabbath, like lately I've been on a Lacuna Coil kick because they had a new album come out, and I was I was a fan of theirs for a good long while, and their most recent albums were like good, but like they they didn't really like. I think the last one I was really into was about 2012. And then this one came out and I'm like, okay, this is like, I'm right back there. Like this one. So like, I've just been like on the kick, alternating that with, Sabbath.
Nice.
But I've brought this up a few times on the podcast with other folks, and I'm wondering do you have like seasonal moods where you're like certain types of bands kind of like fit like what you kind of get into for the season? It doesn't have to be like a 1-to-1 ratio type thing, but like, do you find like as like just like the general like I and you're in Texas, you guys have your fair share of like weird weather sometimes and all that, but like just as the year goes on, or like obviously you have kids, like your schedules change and stuff like that, so you have these defined things. Like, do you feel like in the summer I kind of like listening to this kind of stuff more, in the fall I kind of get a little more things get a little bit darker?
I can see that. I guess because I listen to so much other stuff other than just metal, but I think like what's funny is what ends up metal wise creeping into my rotations in the various seasons. It's funny because strangely the thrash stuff kind of comes in the summer. I don't know. I guess just maybe because of the intensity of it. I'm like, I want to listen to Seasons in the Abyss or season. Like I don't know what it is. Like I just want to hear some Slayer when it's like really hot outside.
With rare exception, I cannot think of any finer music to play when your windows are down. You're driving through. You're blasting the radio. You're blasting like just put on some thrash, man. Like aside from like maybe Def Leppard. Like which is, I think it was like music made for like just driving around your windows down
right
on a road trip or something. But like but yeah, I agree with you that like thrash, like I had a bit of like a thrash bump in the winter for some reason. I think I was getting into I got back into I'm gonna forget their name now, but there were a newer Power Trip. There you go.
Oh yes, Power Trip. What a great band.
They had a live album release. And so like it was kind of like a reminder, like, oh yeah, they were awesome, man. That was such a tragic thing that their vocalist passed away. But like it's but yeah, usually it's the summer where it's just like that the rare times I will put on like Master Puppets, I'm what I gotta go to the grocery store, start Battery. Blast. My neighborhood's gonna know I'm going to the grocery store. But yeah, it's and I listen to a lot of other different stuff too. You know, a lot of like, you know, synth pop, synth wave type stuff, and
I love synth.
just, you know, general just general music and rock music in general. Like,
right.
It's kind of funny because one time my wife and I were actually driving to go see Gojira in September. We saw, it was Korn, Gojira, and Spirit Box.
Oh, nice.
It was a great show. And we were like sharing each other's like workout list, because we were like, we don't know what like each other's like pumps each other up or whatever like that. And it was funny because my lifting list is obviously all the metal stuff, but then like when I'm on the treadmill, it's like Lizzo. What was the other song? King of Wishful Thinking from like the Pretty Woman soundtrack. That's an old one. Yeah. but then immediately followed by like a heavy metal cover of Blinding Lights by The Weeknd. You know, like just as random. But like, just, you know, there's all these different things. So yeah, I like spring and like mainly like fall is like my synthwave time for some reason. Like that just matches up for me. But yeah, there's just a lot of just, again, so much great music out there. It's hard to keep up on it, man.
I know.
It's so hard to keep up on it.
I mean, I'm all for, like, I know streaming does not provide artists with any kind of reasonable income at all, but I'm like, I love it because it allows me to sample so much, you know. And like I will, like, the bands I really like, I do support them. I buy their albums. I'll buy their merch. I can't tell you how much Black Sabbath stuff I have. I have like a couple of different coffee cups, hoodies, different shirts other than this one. And like, you know, when I go to shows, like I buy I go to band shows, I buy tickets, I buy merch at the shows, you know, because like I know that there's no money for them anymore. And so like, I want to show as much support as I can, you know, because like I know I'm streaming their stuff and they're not getting much from that. So
yeah. And that's the, you know, the double-edged sword. But you know, it's but it's also like how people get to notice them, and there is something in that. I actually just saw before the show, like the drummer, was it the drummer from Testament, is starting his own streaming platform called Rock.
Oh, I didn't know this.
ROKK, that's like more favorable to artists. It was just like a little like I forget which metal website was like reporting on it. I'm like, that's random. Maybe it'll be cool. I don't know. You know, but you know, you know, it's kind of the thing where like you feel a little bad about it, but it's also like, you know, what else are you supposed to do? It's not really easy. You know, like no one really does CDs. That's just kind of the nature of the beast. So you find ways to support them where you can, like even if it's just like posting about them online or whatever, like or trying to get trying to get people to listen to them on your podcast. Go check them out. But no, it's kind of crazy out there for sure. You know, we're almost an hour and a half in. I was trying to keep I wasn't trying to keep you too long, but we got into it, which has been great. A lot of fun. But I don't want to keep you too long because you got work to do. You got family and stuff to do. But before we jump into your new book, I do have to ask, like, what kind of guitars you got? What's your gear looking like right now?
Well, I have a Fender Strat, and I've got like a Takamine acoustic, and that's all I have now because I've sold so much of my stuff. And my brother has a lot of my guitars in his storage shed. Like, boy, I had a lot. I probably had as many as you have back there when I was younger, but like I've sold so many of them because like in my previous my ex-wife, you know, she made me get rid of a lot of them, which you know I regret, but because I had a Les Paul studio. It was a studio, but it was still a Gibson Les Paul. It was great sounding guitar. I had an Explorer that was great. Let's see, I had a couple of different Ibanez guitars because Alex Skolnick played those.
They make great stuff.
Yeah, I had an S470, and because I'd seen him play that in a video, I was like, I gotta get that guitar. And I could never really get used to the Floyd Rose bridge. That was a lot.
Yeah, they're tough.
Yeah, that was not easy, but and Yeah, I haven't bought a guitar in a long time, but I do. It's funny because like I want a Telecaster, um, for just no real reason. Just that I love the design.
They're
And
awesome. Telecasters are
yeah,
awesome. Like
yeah,
it's like I never thought I would be like I still kind of consider myself a bass player, even though like I
mhm,
just 99% of my music playing is guitar now. But
yeah,
like, I growing up, like, or just like even growing up, but it's like as you like buy instruments, you're like you're like, am I a this guy? Am I a this guy?
yeah,
Am I a Les Paul guy? Or
right,
I always thought like guitar wise, I would probably be like, I was like, I'm probably gonna be like a Les Paul guy or something. Cause I'm used to a
mhm,
heavier guitar because of the bass or whatever.
yeah.
But then when I got that Telecaster, I'm like, I guess I'm a Telecaster guy. But then
Nice.
I got some SGs and I'm like, wait, am I an SG guy? and then I got a couple of super strats and I'm like, wait, am I a super strat? And I'm like, no, I just like guitars.
Yeah,
you know?
nice.
And
Yeah, I just love
you know,
them.
you mentioned like the Floyd Rose thing. Like I got this
Yeah,
red
I
one
see that.
here, my
Yeah,
Harley Benton.
yeah,
Because again, guitars like for $200 to $300, like you could get a hell of a guitar. Like
yeah.
most of my guitars back here are like $200 Firefly guitars, or like
Mhm.
my most expensive one is the Explorer baritone from
Yeah,
Sola, and
nice.
I only even paid for that because I ended up getting a Super Strat like for free, which was like a
Nice.
$700 guitar. So it was like kind of like it was a good chunk of money, but it's also like like kind of
Yeah,
dumb if you don't do it,
yeah,
to be honest,
right?
if you're into
Yeah,
guitars. But I found like I was just like I wanted a guitar that did a thing,
yeah,
and I play lots of different stuff. I like to play doom fuzzy riffs, but I also like to play low tune super chuggas. I like to play
mhm,
E standard thrash stuff. So
mhm,
like I kept like acquiring guitars, like, oh, this guitar does this thing. Like I
mhm.
wanted one for Floyd Rose.
Yeah,
Do I play it very often? No, but if I wanted to mess around with the Floyd Rose or do a solo thing, like I put a
yeah,
Dimebucker pickup in there.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and
Beautiful.
it's a great lead guitar, but if I
Yeah,
want to play, you know, drop G, I got my silver Telecaster baritone. Or if I want to play
that's awesome.
E flat, I got my gold SG there.
Hell
Like they
yeah.
each do a thing,
That's awesome.
So if you get to yourself in a position to where you're looking into maybe picking up some new guitars or checking out some stuff, I'd be more than happy to point you to some of the more fairly priced places. Unless you're someone
Alright.
who like, I just want to get a Gibson, I just want to get a Fender, like more than fair. But
Yeah,
these days, based on reviews and stuff like that, like Squire and Epiphone are considered far better deals,
yeah.
quality wise, than
Wow.
Gibson and Fender.
Huh,
Um,
interesting.
yeah, just because it's the way that manufacturing has progressed
Mhm.
in the countries that are making them,
Oh, okay.
it's
Huh,
kind of nuts. Like even like the silver
yeah.
Telecaster, the baritone, that was $190, stainless
Mhm,
steel frets,
mhm.
um came great condition, paint job looks great. Sure, the pickups aren't the best, and the hardware could probably use an upgrade, but like that's such a like the I'm also a tinkerer too, so it's like, oh, I can replace the pickups on this, or replace like
Oh,
that.
nice.
Just lights up that's the stuff that makes my brain go go burr
Yeah,
on things like that. So but yeah,
that's fair.
it's there's so many great brands out there that just it's kind of hard to like, granted I have more space, I literally
Mhm.
cannot do anything. I literally have a
Yeah,
guitar in a box here that my wife got
yeah.
me, a guitar kit for like
Uh-huh.
$100 off of Amazon or something,
Wow.
for Christmas, an actual like a regular Strat, because I haven't had a regular
Yeah.
Strat. So
Uh-huh.
I'm like, but like it's gonna be a whole project thing that I'm gonna do when it's nicer out and I can paint it outside and stuff. But
Nice.
you know, it's definitely my my thing, I guess, that I got.
That's
But
awesome, man.
back
Yeah.
to my point, if you're looking to eventually start adding to your collection, I'd be
Yeah.
happy to point you to some cool
I will be
places that
happy to
have good.
talk to you about that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So let's get to it. Student Governments, your new book with
Mhm,
Lila Sturgis, through
mhm,
Maverick Mad Cave imprint.
mhm.
I just had Mad Cave creators on last episode,
Oh, nice.
Val Halverson and Justin Richards. Really
Oh,
great
yeah.
book they're doing there called The Slasher's Apprentice.
Yeah.
Really, really fun book.
Yeah.
I literally told somebody earlier today, like, my only gripe with that book is the fact that I got to read it early, so now I have to wait like 2 more months to read the second issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mad Cave's been doing a lot of great stuff. They've
They
been
really have.
bringing in a lot of great creators.
Yeah.
So before we can dive into it, what exactly is student government?
So it's it's kind of a comedy slash drama story about a group of 4 students who are the interim student government at this like Ivy League university. They're basically the losers, kind of holding down the fort until the spring semester starts and the real student government takes over. Anyway, they find out about this plan to uh, basically destroy the school or whatever, like to bulldoze it. The board of regents are just gonna bulldoze it and take a payday on it or whatever. But these 4 find something in the charter and something on the school on the school grounds that will help save the school. So it becomes kind of like a nerds versus jocks. I hate to say it that way, but I mean like kind of like losers versus winners kind of thing. And it's very sweethearted. It's very funny. It's Lila and Dave Justice co-wrote this book, and it's so silly at times, but it's not like I don't think it's like in a like a eye roll, kind of humor, but it's got a lot of heart, and it's very much a throwback in terms of storytelling and humor to like 80s comedies like Better Off Dead and One Crazy
Perfect.
Summer, because those were kind of my touchstones for like the tone that I wanted in this book. So if anyone has seen those movies, which I know also dates us because we're old, but that's kind of the vibe that is in this book. And
That's perfect.
yeah, it's just it's a really fun story at the end of the day.
Nice. Is working on a book like this, like granted, you've done tons of work post Morning Glories, but like the juxtaposition of the two what was this kind of story, this kind of vibe, something that you're kind of searching for to work on for a future project, or were you just kind of like presented with it? Like how what were your kind of thoughts of like, what am I looking for, and like how did you get attached to the project?
Well, that's a great question. So like I've known Lila and I've known Dave for as long as I've been in comics. So my son is 16, so that's when I started doing comics. So like so for 16 years. Anyway, we met at a free comic book day in Dallas back in 2009, and we were seated next to each other, and we hung out all day, and we just hit it off. And we were trying for years to find something to work on together. We've done a couple of different pitches that didn't get picked up, and then I did a fill-in on a book that they had set up, and the publisher lost funding, and so it's MIA. They came to me with this one a couple years ago, and they're like, "We have this pitch. We think you'd be perfect for it, but it takes place in a school." So I was like, we understand if you don't even want to look at it, because like I don't want to, this in comics, you don't really want to be typecast. I was like the Morning Glories guy, and then I'm the Archie's guy. Yeah. And so like I've drawn teens, I've drawn schools, and I was like, I don't know about this, but I was like, I know you two, I respect you, you're great writers. I want to see what you got. So I read it and immediately just fell in love with the idea. So we worked up a pitch and we brought it to a couple of places, but Mad Cave really wanted it. And our editor, Lauren Hitsusen, wisely took our original pitch and said, because it was very R-rated, and she's like, I think this would work better as a young adult book. And, that was absolutely right. And like, that was like a light switch, and like, it totally lit a fire under us to like really make the book just great. And, we had to remove some offensive jokes and stuff, but there's still some of that stuff in the book. But Dave and Lila have like this really acerbic sense of humor on things, and so they had to kind of dial that down a little bit. But it's not like we were censored or anything. But
no, you just reframe how you're doing. I mean,
yeah,
I as great as it is to like the idea of like, I'm working without limitations, no one can tell me what to do.
Yeah,
like sometimes, like if you just have not even necessarily like barriers or like roadblocks or like boxing you in. Like it kind of is like you kind of have more like a road you're going down.
Yeah,
so like you're going down the YA road. It's like, okay, how can I navigate this best? And it can lead to really interesting creative choices that you normally wouldn't make if you were just able to do whatever. So it's a different way to challenge yourself. As long as you're doing it willingly, I guess.
Yeah.
It goes easier.
What was so great about this too is like every comic I've worked on, the writers and it's all been over email or occasionally phone calls and stuff like that. Like I was working with Nick Spencer. He was based in New York at the time. And then all my other writers are scattered all over the place, but Dave and Lila lives in Portland now, but Lila at the time lived in Austin, Texas, which is about a 3-hour drive south of me. So they came up and stayed. We spent a weekend together, and I've never done this on a comic ever, where I've got to sit in a room with the writers and like break the story, and like I'm designing characters. It's like they're like, "What if we have a character like this?" And I literally drew a design, and we're like, "We can do this." And they were also like very open to collaboration. So like, we have certain types of characters that we want to have in this, and I've never really had a say in the types of characters in any book, and it's not a slight to any of the writers that I've worked with, but like I wanted, because I'm half Filipino, and I was like, could we have a Filipino character? And they're like, yeah, let's. And then we just came up with this character on the spot, and I designed her right there, and it was like so great. And they integrated this idea of mine right into the story, so I felt like I was actually contributing narratively, not just artistically.
That's awesome.
So I mean, this is one of like the most creatively fulfilling experiences I've ever had.
That's like, if there's anyone who's a writer and they haven't like really had too much of that kind of experience with an artist, or an artist hasn't had that experience yet, it is like kind of game changing a bit. That just like being able to like just have, it's not like you're like, I'm taking over the story. You're having some input, having things go a certain way. I'm super lucky with that on my book, because Steve's also an artist, so he knows the deal. But he's also been like super receptive to like can we do this? Our main character is a woman because I suggested, can we make it a woman? The characters are their gender or race because I suggested, how about this, and then that leads to Steve to start thinking about things differently on his end, and like, or they could be this or this,
exactly.
And it's just one of those things that's it's really cool to do, and it's really awesome that you got to this kind of like do it face to face. Because Steve is literally like maybe 4 hours south of me. But he's got he's super busy, I'm super busy, so we really don't have that like, oh, I'm gonna come up for a weekend, or I'll go down for a weekend type of thing. But like it's so close, it's like we're close enough to each other to where it's like, man, we really wish we could do this. Just meet together, just kind of like bang it out, like draw the characters, as we're talking about them and stuff like that. So it's really awesome you got to do that, and that you're feeling like this that satisfaction and energy for it.
We're hoping to do that again, because we're all going to be at Emerald City Con in a couple weeks together, and my wife and I are going up a few days early to do some just vacationing. And when they come, like, we're planning to hopefully spend some time, because we've already got our next idea for another story, and I want to do the same thing. We're not going to have the whole time because we're going to have the convention, but there'll be moments, because Artist Alley has its ebbs and flows of busyness. I'm gonna be like, y'all come to my table, let's like hang out and do as much as we can while we're here together, because I mean it is really nice. And I used to be really put off by the idea, because like early on in my career I was trying to find writers to work with, and sometimes they would be like, I want to do a phone call check-in like every week, and I was like, that seems a little micromanagey.
You're not, we're working together, you're not my manager.
Exactly. So that kind of put me off that approach, but like actually having a good rapport with them to begin with, and then we just like hanging out together anyway, and like the bonus is, we can actually work on this too. So
and having that relationship to where it's coming from like, hey, this is fun. Let's talk about this, as opposed to like how those pages coming.
Yeah.
Am
Exactly.
I gonna see it? Like, when can I expect some more pages? When can I see
Yeah.
this stuff? It's like, hold on a second. Like, this isn't necessary. But no, yeah, it's something that's just like hard to not just like continually get excited for when you're sitting down to draw and all that.
Yeah.
We're getting ready to kickstart when this comes up. I think probably it's probably already out, launched, but the fourth issue of our book, which is the last issue of that arc, and that was the first arc that Steve pitched to me, which he was super great with letting me put plenty of like little things and stuff like that, and obviously like the characters. But like the second arc is like, I kind of pitched that to him,
Oh, great.
and Steve's so great because he's just like, I had like a bunch of, I said like general ideas, and I was just like, some scenes here and there, and like, it'd be cool if we did this. I want to kind of do this. And Steve's also like, what do you want to draw? Like, what do you want? What?
I
Because we
love
have
that
an end game,
Yeah.
but like, we're not there yet, and we're not going to be getting there yet. So, but then, just fairly recently, he comes back and he's like, hey, remember that other idea I had? Like, what if we tie your idea with mine with this? And they bookended each other, like, or to like join together, like, like you ever see those like those was it the woodworking videos where like something goes together so smoothly and it's just like almost invisible, like it was all together at once.
Yeah.
And we've had so many moments like that with this
great.
book and this series that it's just like it kind of like makes me like really trepidatious about working with anybody else, because I'm like, it's not going to be like this.
I know.
But again,
I know. It's like,
there's I'm working on a couple other pitches with a couple other writers, one I've worked with before who I love, and I just like, I don't even really feel like I need to add stuff, because his like sensibilities are like so like dark humor and like weird in the same way that I am with things, that I'm like, I just trust what he's doing. I'm just going to try to make it look as cool as possible.
Yeah.
And then another one where like the all the scripts were already written and all that, but I was just like, I read the scripts. I'm like, I'm a fan of these scripts. Like, I don't want anyone else to draw this. I want to do this,
Right. I love those projects.
But I think I can approach those projects like that because I have Evie and Helsings, which is nice, and has working on student government for you kind of like re-energized like your feelings about, like, not to say you were ever like upset with the industry or like feeling a certain way, but like, has it kind of like taken you like creatively or like excitement level for working on the next thing to any upper levels?
For sure.
Or
I mean, there's an extent that it's ruined me on other collaborations, but I mean, but no, but yeah, because like the same thing. Like I'm working with Rafer Roberts on my next book, and Rafer is also an artist. So this is the first time I've actually worked with a writer who's also an artist, and so that's been. I was a little trepidatious at first, but Rafer is so great and so gracious and encouraging, and I love it. I would totally continue working with Rafer for every day for the rest of my career. If we can keep finding projects to do together, just because you feel that synergy with writers and everything. But yeah, student government, I think, definitely re-energized me, because like it was a creative situation that had been in the works for a long time. Like I said, 16 years. Well, probably at the time we started, like 14 years of knowing each other before we finally get on something that was greenlit and fully funded and all that stuff. And so that was nice. And it was nice to work with friends, and it not go tits up or whatever. And we're all still friends and we still like each other. We don't hate each other. So because I mean, especially around the COVID times, the lockdown, I think everybody got a little depressed, and I definitely worried about my future in the industry, what kinds of projects I'd be doing. And like now I feel like I've come around on the other side of that. And I love this. I love this job. It's not without its pitfalls, but
it's still a job. It's still a job.
It's still a job, but it's like the best job in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I've long said that, like, you could have your dream job, but like, even if your job was like just like petting puppies all day, there would be a morning where you're like, oh, these fucking puppies.
Oh yeah.
I'm tired of these damn puppies. They're always yipping and yapping at me, however fleeting that might be. But it's still got its own stresses and all that. It's not an easy job on the body,
No.
because you're gonna have to, you have to balance like sitting or standing and drawing and stuff like that with moving.
Yep.
And all that, and again, the solitary part, all this stuff. No job is perfect, but this one's pretty close. This one is pretty close, though. So no, that's awesome. I'm glad that you seem to be like equally as excited for the stuff you're doing with Rafer, and I'm really excited to see what that's going to shape up to be, what that's going to look like. And if you guys, did I understand that correctly? That student government, like, there's potentially like a volume 2.
Well, we hope so. We hope so that obviously that they will light the world on fire, and it'll be like, we need more. Like, it needs to be an entire franchise, a student government cinematic universe. But we'll see. But Dave and Lila and I, we have so many ideas, and this next one it's unrelated to student government, but it's tonally a little bit similar, but not probably YA. Because again, like, their humor tends to be more R-rated. So I'm so proud of them for being able to work without that R rating on this book, and like write something that's more like PG-13.
But then it's still be funny, still be as enjoyable as what they're normally. That's true talent. Right there.
Great. I think so.
True talent, true skill. Right there. Awesome. Well, Joe, I think I've kept you up long enough.
This has been so much fun.
I've had such a blast chatting with you. You definitely got to come back. We got to talk more. This episode will most likely be dropping on the 12th of March.
Okay. Great.
So student government should be out.
Hopefully. We're still it's kind of up in the air if it's going to make it to the warehouses in time. It may be a little bit later in the month, but
regardless, I'll make sure there's a link in the show notes. Everyone can go check out wherever they can get it. There'll be a link to somewhere to find it, and all that. I can't wait to check it out myself. Again, Matt Kay's been doing lots of awesome stuff. And lots of great creators, including student government. Like, it just looks like a fun time. And you just bringing up those John Cusack movies to me, like, it's gonna be hard for me not to fall asleep thinking I want my $2. And if you got that reference, then this book's going to be for you, right? Awesome. But Joe, I definitely got to have you back on. We got to have some more metal chat, and then hopefully, when your project with Rafer is ready to go,
that'd be awesome.
I'll get you both on. We'll have a big old fun time there. But once again, Joe, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you, Don.